lot of people don't understand, the constraints around getting students to pass, selection, trying to recruit and all of that. If you had to, sum it up for a coach that's going into Varsity Cup, or what are the key things you'd say he'd have to do? Because it goes to more than just actually the physical coaching on the field. It almost becomes a full-time job and looking at the whole system and your relationship with various stakeholders. What for you would say is the most important in terms of that?
It's a good question because, I was warned when you take this job, like it's a lot of time. And I was like, yeah, but then it's a lot of time. As you know, it's a lot of time doing stuff, and then it's a lot of energy time. So you're lying in bed and you're thinking, what can we do? And that's just the nature of coaching. But I think that's like a drug, Shim. I mean, that's what we love about it. We love thinking about this all the time. The academic requirements are big. It's the best university in Africa, which means it's probably the toughest to get into and the toughest to stay in, so you've got to get a certain amount of credits to qualify for Varsity Cup the next year. So keeping guys passing with the rugby load that they have, and it's almost like a semi-professional rugby load in terms of how much we have to train. So I would say that balance, massively important. I would say there's a balance, Shim, is that if we're working with the Stormers are rugby players. They see themselves as rugby players. They're professional rugby players. A lot of our guys don't identify as rugby players. They identify as students or aspirant accountants or aspirant engineers who play rugby on the side. Yet we're asking them to train 4 times a week, come to team builders, be at meetings, all of that kind of stuff. I reckon that balance, it's an intricate balance for a coach. You've got to understand, like, how can you get guys working really hard without them realizing that they're working hard all the time, if that makes sense. And that doesn't mean manipulating them. That means making it feel like joyous, like they're making mates, like they're actually achieving something in life. Because I think as great an environment as UCT creates, I've had a lot of conversations, even when I was under 20s coach, with players just to convince them to play, because they're going, but hang on, my mates are in Clifton. My mates are going on skiing trips. My mates are doing this, and I'm standing away on the Green Mile in a 60k per hour wind. So I think there's a bit of work that has to be done there. And I had a great conversation the other day with Nick Groom and Nick Fenton-Wells, who are, like, obviously people watching this will know, ex-varsity men. And one of the coaches asked the question, what can we learn from professional rugby? And I think it was Groomy that flipped it. And he said, I'd flip that and say, what can professional rugby learn from varsity? And, he didn't mean that in an arrogant way. But, like, you do want to keep you do want to keep that feeling of going down to the Green Mile and I've got to do a hard graft, or I've got to, as a coach, I've got to cut the team out, or I've got to have a tough conversation with dropping a guy, which I hate. Like, this is actually a fun thing to do. This is a great place to be, and it's a fun place to be. It's an enjoyable and a meaningful place to be. So, like, in my mind as coach, I'm always thinking, like, every guy who comes there, like Gerry Visser, who's an assistant coach, he lives in Paarl. He's driving 50 minutes in and 50 minutes back. So it's like 5 hours out of his day. It's got to be a meaningful experience for him, and if it's not, we've missed the boat.
Tommy, in terms of how do you bring that meaningful experience to life, Tom? Sometimes you have players that come to UCT that just try to use it as a stepping stone to professional rugby. You get guys there that are students that still want to enjoy, sort of have the joy of playing high school rugby. And to be honest with you, don't really want to play professionally. How do you align those goals and make it meaningful for everybody who's got different objectives or different reasons for being there?
Good question. Not easily. I mean, as you know, Shim, like, I always like to theme campaigns. So, when I was coaching under 20, it came up with this thing, ABW, which was always be winning. And, like, it was the whole concept of, the going to Tin Roof and winning in Tin Roof, or winning on the rugby field, or winning at training, or winning in the gym. And it was a concept that I think stuck and was pretty cool. I think how I want to see it now, or what we did with Varsity Cup, is we had this whole thing called the Defiant Runs. So varsity being different, being happy to be different, like hopefully leading the charge rather than just being part of the following pack. I did borrow it from the Dr. Dre.
No, don't worry, I've seen it. Just
a documentary. I borrowed that term. So we created this whole thing around music. So in our 4 houses, we had a house system. Each house was sort of named after their house master, but with a music theme. So Tank Lanning's house was called Wu-Tang Clan, rather like after Wu-Tang.
The Wu-Tang Clan, yeah.
Which was quite clever. So we had this whole musical theme. So I think if you can create a theme with an ideology behind it, and then you tell stories into that, so like Robert F. Kennedy gave the Ripples of Hope speech in what was then Jamison Hall, now forget what it's called. But you got the new hall. I think it's Sarah Parkman Hall at UCT. So like bringing in those stories, bringing history. We did an event where we got like the chairman or the founder of Ubumbo. We got John LaRue, we got John Dobson. So all people who could tell stories about UCT. So I always think if you've got to build a story behind a campaign, and then people can attach their own meaning to that. And then I think, what does everyone want to do in a sport environment? Every person wants to feel like they can compete. So if you're not talking about winning and competing, I think you're missing the boat. Every single person wants to feel like they can connect to other people and therefore belong. So you've got to create spaces for people to bond, to talk, to chat, to have social events. So I think if you allow people to feel like they're going to get better and they can win, that they can connect, and that there's some form of greater cause, I think you can create meaning for people.
Tom, and if a parent had to ask you, my kid goes to UCT, gets a degree, plays rugby, if you had to say, if he leaves, the day he leaves UCT, what are the 2 or 3 things you'd like him to say about the club? If a player leaving there, what two things, takeaways would you like from that player?
Like, I'll tell you one thing, and I've written this down. I haven't told the coaches yet, but I think a goal of us as coaches is that a guy goes and he runs a business in 10 years' time, or even 3 years' time, maybe he starts a startup, and he takes lessons that he learned from leadership and how to run an organization from UCT Rugby Club and implements it in his business. Do you know what I mean? Like, that for me would mean we've ticked a box. I would want a player to understand purpose, like that if you've got something that means something. I would want him to understand that the more I buy in, the more the place will buy into me. So I'm not just a solo warrior who wants it's all about me. I want him to realize that like it's about more than me, and the more I invest, the more they'll come out. You know the story. It's the Marcel Brachi story. Marcel Brachi comes, he invests so much in UCT, therefore he makes it further on.
Yeah.
But if you come to UCT and it's all about you, those people generally don't make it further on anyway. So I'd say those would be two big things that I'd want him to get. And then I suppose what I'd want him to get, Shim, is we always laugh about this. Like, it would be great if someone that you met through the rugby club is giving your best man speech at your wedding.
Yeah.
Or 40th, or he's at your 50th, or he's at your funeral, But you met him at the rugby club and you made a lifelong friendship because of that. And I think if we get those things right, we're going to produce great rugby players. We're going to produce great rugby players anyway.